Hey there, everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I'll be continuing on with the Complete 8-Ball. We're on to issue 11, so we're at the new 8-Ball. That's why I'm looking at the back cover here, just because I don't think we've looked at this yet, but this is the back of the new softcover edition of the Complete 8-Ball. So we're going to pick up where we left off. We are now on issue number 11, and with issue number 11, Clowes really changes a lot. The Velvet Glove storyline is gone, except for kind of a little joke, and it just feels like he's taken a slight shift in tone to me and just moved on and is growing up a little bit. So this is exactly what I was hoping for in issue number 11, I think, and I'm enjoying the series more, and this is why I was sticking with it. So the first one, well, you get the cover here, which is just 4 panels that kind of suggest what the stories are going to be. Pretty typical Clowes layout there. We got another hand done thing here where he's selling books. Now we're starting to see some collections of Like a Velvet Glove, Cast in Iron, which is strange because there's a story related to that in here, so I don't know why it's collected there without this, because that seems like it would be part of it. Lout Rampage, I don't know what that is, but I would assume it's just him. Oh no, it's from the pages of 8-Ball, so it's all the short stories, I assume. The Lloyd Llewellyn, I'll have to check that out. I don't think I've ever read that. I don't know what that is. Is that just more of Clowes complaining? Can someone tell me? Or because it looks like he's just cursing. I've never read the Lloyd Llewellyn, so would I enjoy that, or is it just more of the early Clowes stuff? So anyways, we've got the party here. The party is just Clowes going on about being at a party and how uncomfortable he is. So it's kind of typical, like, Clowes complaining about everyone, but within that there's some more self-reflection than before, and this whole issue I feel has a lot more looking in the mirror type of stuff. As he's looking at everyone else, he's more using that as a way of examining himself, which is a little bit more interesting to me, a little bit more thoughtful at least. So he says, Jesus, it always depresses me to see the stuff hipsters have on display in their apartments. It always seems so childish and unoriginal, but it's really not that much different from my stuff, you know, like Gumby and Charlie Brown. But it's like, dude, yeah, I'm a comic nerd. I have a bunch of comic stuff and old Richie Rich comics and stuff, which he admitted in the last magazine, or in the notes to the last one, that he still enjoyed. So that's the problem I've had with Clowes all along, is he's complaining about everyone else, but none of it's focused on him. Now he's throwing some shots at himself in there, and that balance makes it work a lot better for me as a comic. Also, just as the production continues to go up, he's trying different things. We've had color for a while, but I really enjoy his color, and I just feel like his cartooning, even though it's always been great, is tightening up. So it's just getting better. It's a better book. This whole passage here I thought was interesting as well. I used to at least feel comfortable with my place as an outsider, but not everybody seems to be an outside. But everybody seems to be an outsider now. The divisions are all blurred. How can I like something when creeps like this also? The only way to really separate yourself from the mainstream is to contrive an extreme persona, and all that gets you is a pathetic fashion show of freaks and assholes with made-up opinions. Somebody my parents' age would probably lump me in with this crowd, but I'm not one of, I don't know, I mean, I've got my own friends. Who are these fuckers? And so it's, again, this self-realization where he's starting to lump himself in with all of these art school kids that he was poking fun of. You know, he felt like he was like some serious art kid who's going in to learn technique and all this stuff, and there's a bunch of loser, weird hippie people that he's making fun of, and now he's starting to see himself as part of that generation, I think. And that's interesting. It's compelling to me, and really I understand the feeling of it. Outsider, like in a world of outsiders, is a strange feeling. I remember me and Tori not too long ago went to an Incubus concert, and a lot of Incubus's music, especially the songs that people were singing along with, had to do with being an outsider. And I've always kind of liked the band for that, but those songs wound up being the ones that the crowd was most responding to and I was least interested in. And then when a song came on that I was excited about, the crowd wasn't responding very intensely. And so it was this weird, like, feeling like an outsider in a group of people who feel like outsiders. And I get a bit of that from Clowes too. And so him struggling with that role, like realizing all the cantankerousness is coming from his own outsider status, and that a lot of that's on him, is interesting. I noticed, just looking for names, I noticed David Lasky's name is someone in the letters. So he's someone who we looked at in Formalism Friday, so you should check that out. Great cartoonist himself. I don't know if he's releasing stuff or not at this point, but he's saying that Clowes and Woodring up there, are up there together in terms of making these surreal comics, referring to the Velvet Glove comic. So here is an extension, and this is why I think it's strange that he's actually selling Like a Velvet Glove Cast in Iron as its own book, because this is this is probably the most interesting thing that he's done so far. And I don't know the timeline, but it's a little bit, again, I think he's inspired by Gilbert Hernandez. I could be wrong. But now he has these characters watching a movie called Velvet Glove that is based on Dan Clowes' comic. And there's a bit in here it seems like Clowes has now, and he promised this in the last issue, he's gotten some attention from Hollywood for some of his stories. I don't know if it was for Velvet Glove Cast in Iron, but now he's dealing with Hollywood a little bit. And that seems to have matured him as well. And now he's pointing his eye at these larger systems like Hollywood rather than individual people. And so that critical eye just feels less gross as well. But I really like that he's doing it. He's like wrapping it back around in an interesting way where it's a comic about a movie that's based on his comic. And like I said, that feels a bit like Gilbert Hernandez's stuff where he'll do these one-offs that are their own story, but you can also understand them as a movie that Fritz made within the larger story. This kind of has that, but a little more meta. So that's cool. I find that interesting. And this is probably actually conversation that happened, like an expose thing where this guy is like basically saying, we've tried to get some people to do a comic adaptation of it, and they're doing horrible art. You can't follow what's going on, but maybe we could hire you to draw the adaptation comic of your own movie. And he's like, I don't know, man. Like, what the fuck? And then here you have what looks like Sam Jackson with an eye patch on. He's talking about, we're talking about Marvel Comics. We're talking with Marvel Comics about doing an adaptation of the movie. I don't know if you're interested, but I could probably pull some strings and get you the gig doing artwork. So in that scene where they're talking about that, and then you get this scene that's ostensibly from the movie, I guess. You have this character that looks like Sam Jackson playing Nick Cage. So I thought that was funny, just a bit of prophecy. And something about the art, I don't know if there's just better reproduction or if he's just getting better at the cross-hatching, whatnot, but there's just a real crispness and snap to the production on these images here. So really enjoyed that. Then you get another just kind of surreal story. I guess it's based on an actual folk tale from Ireland that he got from University of Chicago Press, but it's just a strange little surreal story. So kind of typical dark surreal Clowes story. And we got some more Gotta Sell You stuff. Then we have a typical childish kind of Ivan Brunetti-esque, and again, I don't know who came first, but you've got this guy who's just got a frozen fish stuck onto himself. Again, really great cartooning, great snappy stuff, but this is just kind of weird, surreal, gross things that I don't like too much. But they're getting, I don't know, like at least this kind of stuff is funny to me, like where the character's speaking with these signs. So like, even though he's indulging in the grossness a little bit, I don't know, it's something about it's a little more palatable to me. Another ad, and then Why I Hate Christians. And on the title here, you're like, oh God, here we go again. But really, what's going on in this one, and again, there's like more self-evaluation happening, which is interesting to me, is he's going on about why he hates Christians, but then the devil's actually sitting there playing devil's advocate and being like, come on, dude, like you're describing yourself at almost every turn. Okay, you caught me in a pathetic moment. Christians lied to God about something every day, and they've just been shown previous, like, dear God, please get me out of this. It's like, well, they do it a lot more often. And so that critical eye is now turning back to himself, I think. I think after 10 issues of just, and people sending him letters, like, he's starting to realize, like, yeah, it was a character I was playing. He's talked about that earlier in the book, that people have to play play these over the top characters, to try and stand out. You have to go even further into playing that character, and I think maybe he feels like he went too far, and he's pulling back. It just, this whole issue feels like, okay, it's a chance to start over and take this thing that I call 8-Ball and rethink it and rethink who I am as an artist. And then you get the beginning of Ghost World, and this opening chapter, it's just kind of these two characters, the two main characters, Enid and I didn't catch the other girl's name, or I forgot it, but they're going on, just about a guy that they have crush on, and how these guys are pervs and they're into child pornography. It looks like this one guy, he has this magazine that is illustrated. It's got high-tech child pornography that's computer-generated artwork. And so they're saying it's legal to print these and sell them because they're not actual pictures of children. And this guy here is saying, well, this has allowed him to deal with, he's had this desire for children for his whole life, and he's never done anything with it. But this new computer generated stuff allows him to kind of dabble in those interests of his without doing anything illegal. And I just thought, I don't know back then, like, I could say I don't know anything about child pornography, thankfully, but like, I don't know if there were people doing like computer airbrush, Photoshop drawn this. I think this is 93, or if this was just something he came up with. But this seems like this is one of the things that worries me the most about the AI is this seems like a potential for the AI, that you could have characters like this that are just generating disgusting stuff with it and using this technological capability. So I don't know how we put the guardrails on it, but it's also an interesting argument. I don't think it's an argument that really anyone should be trying to open the door on, but I mean, it is interesting. I was actually talking to someone about Bastien Vivez's work and how he's under fire lately, and they were saying, well, it's child pornography, it's illegal. And it's like, well, I don't know about in France, where this guy's from, where Bastien Vivez is operating, and the guy I was talking to is from. But in the United States, if it's a drawing of a kid, then it's not illegal. But I still think it's an open question about whether those materials should exist at all. But currently, I think they're still correct. That's not illegal. But that might be something we have to revisit when it becomes so easy to generate these things with the AI. So I thought that was interesting. But it shows, having read this before and having watched the movie, I kind of know that they have this interest in like loser guys, these two bored suburbanite girls. And so that seems to be a kind of an introduction to those characters. And then you have this little 2-page gag here about Clowes just being a skinny nerd. He's an ectomorph, which is the body type of the skinny person that can't gain weight even if they eat all day long. And I pretty much fall in the category of these people at the end, like, oh God, I hate you. I wish I could eat that much without gaining weight. But he feels like a shriveled up wimpy nerd. So I get it. I guess as, I don't know, what are the other two? Ectomorph, mesomorph. I don't know. I think I'm the one in the middle. I can get fat, but I don't get like real fat. I'm getting fatter as I get older. So I don't know. But I don't share that with Clowes, and, yeah, it's a funny. This is a funny one. Again, he's poking at himself, and it's sharing a funny take on something that he's struggling with, and again showing the two sides of it. I think this issue is a little more even-handed in that he's showing all the people who are jerks and picking on him, but then all the people who like envy. That it's a state that you're getting picked on and envied, and that's what's funny about it. That's what's distressing about it. So I like that. I just feel like he's getting much more sophisticated at his shtick, I guess. He's getting better at putting it out there in a way that's palatable, at least to me. So really, really enjoyed issue 11. Even just flipping the page into issue 12, the art on here looks phenomenal. And it looks like he's headed into more longer form stories. Oh, and some experimentation. Okay, cool. So I'm really looking forward to issue 12 and forward. I feel like I've passed the part that was really hard for me to get through, and now I can be really excited about it. So I really appreciate anyone who stuck with me as I kind of grow with my understanding of the series and grow with my feelings about Clowes, as he apparently is growing up as well. So thanks for continuing to watch through that. If you enjoy what we're doing here on the channel, Really appreciate it. The best ways that you could support us, if you want to do so, are through our Patreon. There's 3 different tiers there that come with different access to kind of voting rights and original content and all kinds of stuff like that. Check that out. And then the best thing you can do is support what Sean's doing with Living the Line Publishing. So we'll take a look at some books that you could purchase now. The Eisner nominated The Strange Death of Alex Raymond by Dave Sim and myself. This is a gorgeously illustrated and designed book. Dave doing most of the illustration. Amazing compositions throughout. What Dave is doing is he's recording his obsession with the death of master cartoonist Alex Raymond behind the wheel of Stan Drake's car when they got into a car crash. The best description of the book that I've heard is that it's like understanding comics with pages like this, mixed with something like From Hell when you get into the theories about, you know, what actually happened with the car crash. And then with Sean on production, it's just one of the most gorgeously printed books you could get a hold of. Thanks for following along. Take it away, Jack.
You want to see all these books? Smash that subscribe button and the like button and the bell, and then you get them.